NASCAR's charter system. Is it helping or hurting? Coming up next. What is going on, everyone? I hope you are having a good day today. All right, the NASCAR charter system has recently come under scrutiny because JRM, Junior Motorsports, has basically said it is the main obstacle to them getting involved full time in the NASCAR Cup Series. So before we even get into the issue, basically there are going to be two sides to it. One side is they want as many cars as possible racing in the Cup Series because it makes it interesting. The other side is going to be like fewer teams is better because it builds brand identity and builds up franchises. So we will look at both sides first and then jump into it. So the first side, and I would say arguably the more unpopular side, would be like we like charters because it builds franchises much like sports teams, and that is basically what this is based off of. Look at the NFL, for example. You've got 28 teams. In NASCAR, you have 36 charters for basically 40 qualifying spots. So 4 spots are open to people who don't have charters, and the pay structure is so that those teams that don't have charters don't get paid as well as others. So basically the 36 will build your franchises, like say the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, San Francisco 49ers, my team personally, Buffalo Bills, another team that I also like. So it builds brand identity like that. So you can build up a brand and a team just like that, like Dallas Cowboys and things like that. And that is sort of what they're aiming at. They want the Hendricks and Joe Gibbs to be well into the future, continue to go on and basically be a franchise that NASCAR can market, much like they do today with Petty and the Wood Brothers, right? Those are our most vintage teams, RCR to some extent. Those are your most vintage teams that people like to wear a lot of throwback gear and stuff like that. So that is the argument for the charter system. The argument against the charter system is, yeah, you've got those franchises, but what about, franchises like the Detroit Lions? The Detroit Lions, if they were a business, would have shut down a long time ago. For my lifetime, and for most everybody's lifetime, the Detroit Lions have been absolute garbage, complete trash. And the only reason that they are still in the league is because they are a franchise. Much like some of these charter teams, there will come a point in the future where one of these charter teams will be absolutely terrible for years and years and years, and they will just continue to be in the sport, even though other teams that are trying to get into the sport are actually a better team, but they can't fully commit and run the sport full time because they can't guarantee their sponsors that they will have a start in the Cup Series because this other team has the charter and they're fighting over 4 spots to get in to these NASCAR races. So for one reason, the big reason that people don't like the charters is that reason right there. Back in the day, NASCAR was much more like a business than a sport. You showed up, you were either fast enough to get in or you were not, and if you weren't fast enough to get in, you bought a ride like Richard Petty did in that Daytona 500 when he drove that green number 6 Buick with the STP on the front, green and red and white. It was something to behold, but that is how you got around it back then, and that would fund a team like that outqualified Petty and put him in the car. That would fund them for the rest of the season. So it was a financial way of doing things, and it was more like a business. So people who want the sport to be run more like a business than, say, the NFL model, where you have franchises that can be as terrible as they want to and just continue on. Since NASCAR has implemented this, has it been good for the sport, though? Has it strengthened the sport? Has it made it more healthy? Well, if you're looking at it from a car count point of view, you can just look at Daytona 500s, right? The most prestigious race, the race that everybody wants to get into. In 1994, they had 61 cars enter the Daytona 500. Obviously, 43 made it in. The rest went home. In 2004, they had 45 cars enter the Daytona 500. Of course, 2004, when they started doing the thing where certain teams were locked in points and the other teams had to race their way in. And then you go to 2014, where you had a slight bump up. There were 49 teams that tried to qualify for the Daytona 500. And then you go to 2022, where I think 42 cars tried to get into the Daytona 500, and 2 of those cars, I think, went home. So as you can see, as far as for the health of the sport, if you want car count, if you want more new teams, new faces, if you want more drivers to get an opportunity, under this new model of the charter or franchise thing, fewer drivers are going to be able to get into the sport because fewer teams are going to attempt to make it because there's only 4 spots to fight for. So you're not going to have as many teams trying to move up and compete because this charter system has dissuaded them from coming into the sport, which is what NASCAR, another reason NASCAR put it in there too as well. They didn't want the Carl Longs of the world, they didn't want the Jimmy Means of the world to continue to run at the back. So NASCAR definitely had an agenda with it as well. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they didn't. But let me know down in the comments down below what you think about the charter system. Me personally, I try to stay unbiased, but I do like to give my opinion on it so you know where I stand. Me personally, I'd like to see the charter system thrown to the wayside. Do I think it'll ever happen? Absolutely not, because these teams want to play it safe and know for sure that they have a way in. But I would like to see the charter system scrapped personally because I liked it back in the day, back in 1994, when you had 60-some teams showing up trying to make the Daytona 500. It just makes for better stories. It made for a stronger sport. It was just better all the way around. But let me know down in the comments below what you think about it. And if you've made it this far, feel free to subscribe. It helps out the channel a whole lot, and I really, really appreciate it. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.